Alright traders, George here, and time for a look at gold. What I'll do is show you two views of gold, starting out 120-minute chart. The concept of a harmonic or a self-duplicating move wildly present here in gold. From the lower left, the initial rally pulls back to the 50% retrace and then does a perfect one-to-one harmonic to the high here at 1434. From that point, we've started to sell off. We had an outside return that came in just about at the 618 retrace. And then we've moved down and made a new structure low down here. That low happens to be the 618 retrace of this master impulse right here. Alright, so there's a bunch of arrows over here and I'll explain to you what they are. Let's start out with the big one. This guy here, that sell impulse, if it does an outside return and duplicates itself off of that swing high, we'll notice that that one-to-one harmonic comes in at the 1.4142 extension. That happens to be at the 786 of the entire master impulse here, assuming that we're labeling this one as such, X to A. Another key impulse here, that happens to be this sell impulse. Alright, so if it does an outside return off its most recent swing here, that does a perfect one-to-one harmonic drive down with confluence with this larger ratio projection, same zone, okay? And then this little guy right here, it's already done a one-to-one harmonic. Just to show you that has been present. So we've had one here, and we've had one here, and we're setting up to potentially do another one down. Now, let's look at the balance beams. A lot of commitment here in the low 1300s. Okay, look to the 382 and the 50% retrace here. Notice how they nail the ceiling and about the floor of this zone. Okay, remember those numbers, 1336.70 and 1306.70. If price breaks above that zone, that would be very strong confirmation that we're liable to be moving up. And if we break the floor of this zone here, confirmation that we're very likely to be moving down. As it is right now, this dominant spike here, a couple dollars higher than where we are, has created a new resistance swing, and we've started to fade at this point here. So if this swing high is not taken out by the bulls and this spike holds as resistance, then a retrace of the lows in this zone here, and then a move to new lows, retesting this swing, and then this harmonic target down here are on the table. If the bulls can hold on to this zone here, then what was a grand one-to-one here could be setting up and could be just a fractal of a larger scale move underway, which would be this guy launching off at 1276 and going up. So it's all about this zone right here. Who's going to control this 37 to 07 zone? All right. And let me just show you one more thing before I move to the daily chart. Looking at time cycles, if we look to the swing low to the swing high here as a unit of 1, okay, and break that down relative to pi, there is an interesting breakdown of some very key ratios. I want to take that grid, which has been, let's say it's been sealed here as a unit of 1, and I want to project that forward. But if we go off the swing high at the top there and we project forward, three very interesting things come to light. The 1.618 is where this giant rally occurred. The 2.618 is about where this sharp up move ended, and the pi extension here is essentially a one-to-one time projection, and that's coming up tomorrow. Okay, so this could be a catalytic turning point here for gold, whether it continues this move down or up. But in terms of a time cycle harmonic, we're knocking at the door to completing a second revolution here. All right, now let's move to the daily. Two big takeaways from this chart here. Look to the left, balance beams. A lot of trading activity in these areas, but they diminish as we move lower. That's very bearish here. We've moved up and had a go at living above this zone here, but that got completely rejected. We've tried to stay over this zone, and we're currently not. And so that's another knock against the bulls here, okay? Now, there's a zone down here around 1285, and then not much after that. So what I've got here is I've tagged 1314 to 1331. You'll recall from the earlier chart that we had 1306 to 1337 or so. On this chart here, 1314 to 1331. When the bulls take over the top line or the bears take over the bottom line, that will then start the next phase of this impulse, okay? So over 1331, the next real key price point to watch is 1391, okay? Outside of testing resistance swings, etc., but 1391 is really the big one. If the bulls can break it over that, 1466, And then that big ratio projection I showed you, here's where it comes in, 1531. So those are the 3 price points above where we are to watch. Okay, with the trigger being over the 1330 zone. It could be 31 to 37. Obviously there's a lot of commitment here. Below the 14s to 07s, that will create a much easier passage for price to move down, and really 1285 and 1232 are the key price points to watch below that. Okay, real important to get this visual down here, because that's why gold is having such a hard time. It was a great move up here by the bulls. This was a very bad defense of this zone here, and you can see how much of a problem it's been since. So there's your update on gold, and I'll see you back in the live room.